doctor.
Thank you and welcome back. There's a biblical proverb that reads, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." It's a statement that holds a lot more truth than we often give it credit for, particularly when it comes to the link between our minds and our bodies. Dr. John Demartini has spent close on 4 decades studying and enlightening us on the psychosomatic nature of human beings. And true to form, he's going to do the same today on the subject of diabetes. John, you believe strongly in the mind-body connection, going so far as to say that our perceptions can affect our wellness or illness. Would you kind of unpack that?
Well, I've been blessed to study that, like you say, for 4 decades. And in clinical practice, I noticed and kept records of people's personalities and behaviors and ambitions with their various conditions and started cross-referencing those. And I found that people definitely had personality associations with various types of conditions. And I've been fascinated by epigenetics and the relationship between our mind and our body for all these years.
And what can we do, particularly as diabetics, with our mental state of being to mitigate our symptoms?
Well, when we have a defense mechanism and we feel like we're not getting what we want, we look for immediate gratification and we typically eat too much, we tend to eat more sugars, and we tend to gain weight. And this has definitely been a factor in causing problems with diabetes. And exercise, without a doubt, tends to keep the glycemic index more moderate.
I'd agree with that.
And so people that were willing to keep an active walking schedule and make sure that they moderated their diet and make sure that they were grateful for their life and not seeing things in the way but on the way in their life, they tend to normalize the blood sugar, and the volatilities were easy to maintain. We even have a person who's right here in South Africa that has been taking insulin for many years and has actually dropped their insulin levels because of dissolving some of the emotional stresses that they've accumulated, and also getting on an exercise routine and moderating their nutrition. So we have the ability to not necessarily cure it, but to certainly moderate it in the effect and its progression.
You talked about emotional stress there for a moment. That must affect us in many different ways, particularly physically. Would you say the same is valid for diabetes?
Absolutely.
Emotional stress, life events?
Whenever we have things that challenge our values, our blood sugar goes up, our oxygen levels go up, and we get into a fight or flight and defense mechanism. And it does the opposite when we feel supported and protected. So it's not what happens to it, it's our perception. If we ask questions, how is whatever's happening on the way and helping us, instead of how is it interfering with our life, we tend to moderate the stress levels, regulate the blood sugar levels, and not have these volatilities.
What would you say comes first? Diabetes that feeds into a kind of personality approach or disorder, or a personality or perception that feeds into diabetes?
I don't know if I can state with certainty on what the cause and effect dynamic on that, but I've certainly found in patterns of people with diabetes that they've had a history of shocking events sometimes that have challenged them very, very severely. And so what happens is when we have very shocking experiences, or we feel that we're being controlled and we can't fulfill our lives and we're trying to please everybody and we feel really overwhelmed by that, sometimes we can induce these, and we have a pattern, and the history sometimes is overlooked. Wow. And so I do believe that there's sometimes an initiator that's factor, but at the same time we have genetic factors we know are there, and now epigenetic factors. Because of the new era that we're in and the studies of epigenetics, and particularly what they call transposon genetics, they're now realizing that some of these gene expressions are not just because of the genes from the parents, but it's also the influence of our environment, our perceptions, epigenetically activating genes or turning off and turning on genes through transmitters in the brain, and literally change our genetic expression. And the beta cells in the pancreas and the alpha cells are playing in pairs of opposites. They're trying to help each other maintain that blood sugar. And so the pancreatic cells, they can have autoimmune responses from us beating ourselves up, literally causing us to attack our own cells with our emotions. So this is why it's so promising to look at what our role is in our genetics instead of just assuming it's the parents.
Is there then a cure?
Well, I don't like to think of it as a cure at this stage. I like to think of it as one of the variables and factors that are in the equation. I think it's like the old statement of nurture and nature, genetic and epigenetic. I've been studying epigenetics for now 35, almost 40 years, and I've been fascinated about what our capacities through the brain to change cells. And that is an emerging field that is so amazing today that we're going to see in the future giving our cells power back to be able to alter our physiology with our perceptions. So I think that that's the forefront and where we're going. We're going to be studying the technology of helping treat diabetes and moderating blood sugar levels with science, but we're also going to learn about the science of the mind.
Can we get practical with that, John? If I had to ask you for maybe 3 or 4 things that we can do to alter our perceptions, which would have a positive impact on our disease, what would you suggest?
Well, I would say that the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. If you ask amazing questions that bring balance to the mind, you bring balance to the physiology. So no matter what's going on in your life, ask, how is it helping me fulfill what's most meaningful to me? And you'll be more grateful for life. And gratitude, I still think, is one of the greatest healers we have in our life. And if I was to say that gratitude and love was the greatest healers we have, my observation is that that's really the truth. We have to be able to feel that we're doing what we love in life and we're inspired by life. And we have something to look forward to if we want our immune system to stop its attack, and we want to help our physiology maximize its potential.
Is there science behind it, or is it observational science? I mean, how do you kind of...
Well, there's both science behind it. It's not one study. It's a series of studies that are put together to be able to take it piece by piece that I've been studying for many years. But it's also an observation. When people have autoimmune responses in lupus and diabetes and these collagen diseases particularly, you can see that when they're actually appreciating themselves and not self-depreciating, it calms down the reactions and the inflammatory responses calm down.
I was going to ask you, how would you sum it all up? What would be the bottom line message here if I had to kind of, put you on the spot and say in a sentence?
Well, no matter what's happened in your life, find out how it's on the way, not in the way, how it's instructive, not obstructive, and how it will help you become a master of your destiny, not a victim of your history. And if you do, your blood sugar will be more likely to be more normalized, and it will also make you be more moderate in your lifestyle. It will make you not overeat, because when you're not fulfilling your life to the fullest, you tend to look for immediate gratification. And sugar and stimulants and overeating can be a compensation for an unfulfilled life. Be grateful for your life. Do what you love. Appreciate yourself. Look in the mirror and say, thank you, I love you, to yourself and the people around you, and you'll be more likely to help your physiology than anything else I could advise.
That's brilliant. Dr. Demartini, thank you so much. I hope you never forget that. That's why medicine is both an art and a science. We're complex human beings, not simple biological machines. And the message that rings most true for me from our conversation is a reminder to get to the root cause of the problem. Don't just treat the symptoms superficially. Dr. Demartini, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I want to live the best life.